New and more notable faces in New Orleans. Peterson coming off season where he played just 3 games last season with a total of 72 rush yards. Here's the quarterback, Drew Brees.
He's a stud, man. He looks the part. It's been impressive. You know, I mean, obviously you admire the guy from afar. I've played in a few Pro Bowls with him, so I do have a little bit of that, you know, experience. But man, there's something about handing the ball off to that guy and watching him run through the hole and you know, take on anybody who tries to tackle him. You know, which obviously we're not in pads right now, but you're just imagining what it's going to be like. So excited for that time to come. I think he's going to be able to do some stuff in his offense that maybe he hasn't done over the course of his career, just because we require some versatility from that position.
Mike Triplett is covering the Saints and has more from New Orleans.
So Drew Brees says there's something about handing Peterson that ball and just watching him go through the hole. And that's really the observation everyone has had around Saints camp, from the media that's had an up-close and personal look at him for the first time to a lot of new teammates. They all kind of laugh when they talk about him. Just his sheer size and the power he runs with really gives you a little step back. And he looks plenty healthy, fast, fluid. This time of year, everybody looks pretty good in shorts, but it's a good sign for a guy who we've talked all offseason. Oh, he's coming off that knee injury. He's 32 years old. John Kuhn, who spent 10 years in the NFC North facing Adrian Peterson with the Green Bay Packers, said, he looks like the same old Peterson to me. Peterson did appear to be limited out of team drills. He did all the individual work. Mark Ingram has not yet practiced during OTAs, so it'll be a while before we figure out what their specific roles are. But absolutely, they're going to use Peterson's versatility, and Sean Payton knows how to get creative and use multiple backs in this versatile offense.
Mike, thank you. And clearly in May, or I guess it's June 1st now, it's easy to talk about that versatility and the different ways Peterson might contribute. But you're not buying the major contributions to the passing game.
No, I'm not. That's not his forte. His forte is this. He's a back that wants to run inside the tackle box. Powerful guy. He can close the game out for you in the fourth quarter. You talk about hammer time when you have to end the game and not allow your defense to come on the football field. He can do that. But remember this. This is very, very difficult now for a defense coordinator when you play against the Saints. You have a quarterback that we know he's marvelous. He throws for 5,000 yards every year, it seems, all right? They throw 607 passes. Here's the problem now as a defensive coordinator. When Adrian Peterson breaks the huddle, you got a problem. You got to put the 8th guy in the box. You can't go with a light box. That helps Drew Brees. So Drew Brees, yeah, sure. That's why Drew Brees is smiling right now. He says, oh, he looks good. Yeah, Drew, when he's sitting back there, you got 8 guys in the box, because if you put 7 in there, Adrian Peterson will rip the heart out of your defense.
And that's when he can really wreak havoc if you let him loose. So what role should Peterson play in this offense?
Listen, he's going to be a first or second down back. And I think the model needs to be set as far as the Dallas Cowboys and what they do. Establish the line of scrimmage. Push, like Coach said, fourth quarter, pound you into the ground. And this team was really good in 2009 when they won the Super Bowl, when they were balanced. They were 6th in the league in rushing. They need to get back with that identity. Drew Brees cannot continue to carry this football team offensively and defensively throughout the season. They need a running game to offset that.
It's interesting because this often happens, but New Orleans was not in that mix of teams field that we talked about early on as possibilities or even a probability for Peterson. How did he end up in New Orleans?
Well, Wendy, his market sort of dried up before it ever manufactured in the first place. Peterson was linked to the Seahawks previously, a little bit with the Oakland Raiders as well. The New England Patriots brought him in for a tryout, but as it became clear that other teams were either content with their running back depth chart or going to rely on the draft to fill up their running back needs, Peterson and New Orleans began talking. This took place over the course of a handful of days before actual ink was put to paper. And I think one of the interesting things about this entire season is just exactly what Adrian Peterson is. If he was, in the eyes of many teams, a no-doubt 1,200-yard back, he would have been signed long before he ended up in New Orleans. If he had nothing left in the tank, teams would have just passed entirely. He would be unsigned. As much as we know about this player, as much as we know about this offense, I think it's fair to say right now we are in wait-and-see mode in terms of what kind of player Adrian Peterson will be.
Well, we know this, is that Adrian Peterson seems to defy the odds of a running back. He played on a team when he was in Minnesota, actually, when he didn't play well. Offensive line was inconsistent, obviously. That doesn't help you, as well as this. He didn't have a quarterback that could throw for 5,000 yards. Well, that helps Adrian Peterson as well, because now you're facing Drew Brees. Guess what? You can't sit there with 8 guys in the box all day either trying to defend Adrian Peterson because you're worried about Drew Brees getting single coverage outside. So this helps both parties, the quarterback as well as the runner.
You know, when you game plan as a defensive player, when you game plan, guys, you always think about who's the guy who's going to affect the game the most. Every time Adrian Peterson got off the bus, he was the guy you looked at and you said, you know what, we have to stop that guy right there.
Now pick your poison.
Now pick your poison. Now you have Drew Brees back there throwing the ball. You can't, like Coach said, you can't drop in those 8-man fronts. Pick your poison. Which one do you want to see? I'd rather see Drew Brees throwing the ball than see him running downhill physically at no doubt in the third and fourth quarter.
Well, Peterson, to your point, isn't known as a receiver, but he has produced some highlight-worthy catches in his 10-plus years in the NFL. It's time for our instant 3-play, and it's his top catches, again, courtesy of Adrian Peterson. His first career touchdown in the NFL was actually on a catch, believe it or not. Juggled the pass from DeForest Jackson and then went 60 yards, shot out of a cannon to score in his NFL debut in 2007. He showed the speed on the last play and the power on this one in 2009, absolutely plowing through Steelers defender William Gay, then turning on the Jets for a 29-yard gain.
Ouch.
And in 2010, with Brett Favre quarterbacking, he shows off more of his open field skills, this time with the beautiful cutback, putting a Cardinals defender on skates, good for 33 yards. Look, New Orleans not the only team that will have to figure out how to split carries. There's sometimes not enough footballs to go around, although I guess that's a good problem. Let's start with the Vikings. We'll look at 3 different teams who will have to figure out how to split up the catches, if you will, or touches. And let's start here with Minnesota.
Well, if you look at these guys, I think, Delvin Cook is the new guy on the block. I mean, he is a tremendous player. He is a multi-purpose. Right now, with Murray, I would give him about that percentage.
60%.
Wow, that's
60%, okay?
Yep.
How about this guy?
Dalvin Cook, second-round pick out of Florida State.
He's going to get about that.
30.
30.
35.
Oh, okay.
35.
Okay. So basically, this is a two-man backfield.
He's going to get the rest, right?
So Jerick McKinnon, who obviously a terrific pass catcher.
Yes.
A guy who's
and that's
tremendous athlete.
Because this guy is your third down player. He's in 2 minutes.
Right.
He's in your fast offense. Okay. I mean, and this guy is, this is why I draft this guy. I mean, he's a good player, but this guy's your pounder.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at Jerick McKinnon. He understands the offense, understands it, especially on third downs. He's probably going to come in the game to start the season off simply because of the pass protection. Dalvin Cook's probably going to have to work his way in. I can see at the end of this season, with the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook really picks it up at the end of the season.
One note here, by the way, Latavius Murray did have ankle surgery just after he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Something for them to monitor as we get closer to the start of training camp and the regular season.
Push that
Broncos.
thing out of here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we just pushed that. Yeah,
There we
how
go.
about
It's
the Broncos
swiping.
with these 3?
Well, so I'll break this one down, and I'll start here with C.J. Anderson, and I will go with 50. Oh, I got to get my.
Get your paddle up there, baby.
Got to get my.
What you want, red?
There we go. I'm going to go
Ben?
red. Yep.
Gotcha.
55% of the carries
wow.
for C.J. Anderson. Now, remember this. In the last 4 weeks of C.J. Anderson's season in 2016, before he got hurt, he handled 53.2% of the Broncos' running back carries. So not an overwhelming number, and I'm just not convinced this is a team that wants to run him in the ground. He has not carried over 20 times in a single game since December of 2014. It's been nearly 2.5 years since that took place. Now, I'm going to give Jamal Charles 15% of the carries. You may be saying to yourself, that number seems low, right? This is Jamal Charles, an incredible player who's got one of the best yards per carry average in league history. Well, he's carried the ball 83 times over the past 2 seasons. I think everybody wants him to be healthy and make the team improve where his role is before we start casting this major workload for him. And that leaves the final 30%. We're just going to use 3 Broncos running backs. Devontae Booker, a pick last year out of Utah, who had a chance to become a starter. As we see some of this B-roll from Jamal Charles, he could be a big-time contributor in the passing game as well. We'll see just how this quarterback competition unfolds in Denver, but make no mistake about it. If these guys can be better than they were last year, that takes pressure off of Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, whoever it was.
He's got to protect the ball, Booker.
Yes, he does.
Put the ball on the
Yes,
ground.
he does.
I know it's a day for spelling, but anybody checking the math here? I think that's about
that's
right.
some big numbers.
I'm waiting for somebody. I know. I'm waiting for somebody to get the math wrong.
That's that new math.
All right, that is that new math. How about the Jags? We talked about Leonard Fournette earlier. These guys
All right,
got
Darren, which color you want?
got a dilemma.
Let me go with the red. There you
Red?
go. There we go.
All you.
Keep it that way.
Give him a pencil.
Yep.
I think when you look at this team the last couple of years, Without Leonard Fournette, the rushing game alone, 8 touchdowns by the running back position.
Not good.
Only 8 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette comes in. He's going to get the bulk of those carries this year. I'm going to say Leonard Fournette gets 50% of the carries to start this season off, simply because of what they need in the plus 20, in the red zone, and the physicality, the identity they want to have. TJ Yeldon, he's a guy that's probably going to be in that 20% range simply because of the fact that he's going to be the third down guy. He understands the blitz packages, how to pick them up, protect the quarterback, catches the ball well out of the backfield. He'll be their third down guy. And then I'm going to say Chris Ivory. I'm going to go 30% with Chris Ivory. I think there's going to be a 1-2 punch on first and second down with Chris Ivory and Leonard Fournette. Physical running backs that are going to run the ball inside the tackles.
This could help Blake Bortles' career. There's no doubt about it. Tom Coughlin is the GM. You look at Tom Coughlin teams. He likes to be physical. He likes to run the football. He went out and got a first-round draft choice in Fournette that can run the ball at you downhill. That will help Blake Bortles.
I mean, I just say this. If they give just 50% of their carries to the 4th overall pick on the draft, to me, that's not the kind of return on investment you need from a running back at that. You can find better depth and better value at that spot, or draft a running back in the
Later
3rd or 4th round.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Jags have not had a 1,000-yard rusher since Maurice Jones-Drew in 2011. They are one of just 3 teams without a 1,000-yard rusher during that time, along with the Panthers and the Browns. Which NFL team made a